Welcome back, dear friends, to the third module. If you recall, in the second module, we ended by discussing about the nanotoxicity. So I'll just go to the last slide that we discussed. Challenges of nanoscale. So this was what we discussed, that they're too small for direct measurements, too large to be described by current rigorous first principle theoretical and computational methods, and exhibit too many fluctuations to be treated monolithically in time and space, and too few to be described by a statistical ensemble. So these are the challenges, and a very important challenge that has come about is nanotoxicity. There is now scientists all around the globe are showing their concern about how nanoparticles, nanomaterials, they interact with human body, interact with the plants. So cytotoxicity and phytotoxicity of nanomaterials is a concern. And as you can see from this graph, it is right. The research on nanotoxicity, the blue line indicates the research on the toxicity of nanoparticles, and the red indicates nanotoxicology. So this is increasing. I have this graph till 2015, and after 2015 to 2021 also there is an increase in this research on nanotoxicity, because it shows great promise, nanotechnology, but still, as I told you, that the scale is so small that we have actually not much control over it, and how it is reacting in the body or in the body in the plants, I have no idea about it. So it is very important that research efforts should be focused on nanotoxicity, determining nanotoxicity. So we'll talk about that a bit. So mostly, if you see the literature, most studies explore nanoparticles. The most studied nanomaterial for toxicological studies is nanoparticles. So why? This is because first, fine particle pollution. It is said that nanoparticles are responsible for fine particle pollution, and because of their size, they have the ability to move around the body, and size is uniquely suited to interact with the biological machinery. So that is why they are the most studied for toxicity. So how to make nanotechnology safe? It is very important to have dependable diagnostic tools for the detection of nanoparticles in air, water, and food. Then focused research to understand how nanoparticles are distributed, what is the mechanism of their distribution in the human body, and how do they persist, and standardizing the methods that measure acute and chronic toxicity. And the most important is, nanotechnology has been touted as a miracle technology. That is very scary, because the general public has to be sensitized. We are scientists, but just imagine a farmer, and who is maybe not aware about the harmful effects of nanoparticles and is using the, say, fertilizers based on nano products. So it is very important to sensitize the general public about the possible harmful effects. See, the questions that need to be answered are, what properties affect the transport and toxicity of a nanoparticle? And the studies that have been done till date, they say that size is very critical, and the surface treatment is very critical. And then various scientists all around the globe also are exploring the question that, do nanoparticles accumulate in the body? And the answer to that, some do and some don't. Percentage retained till now is low, and is no long-term study has yet been done. So that is the thing. Nanoparticles to the brain, and uniform nature of nanoparticles may alter proteins in the cells. So that is also a concern, because serum protein binding is facilitated, and it binds to the serum protein, and that facilitates uptake by liver and spleen. And for if you know this, that in Alzheimer's disease there is protein fibrillation, so in that also. So studies show extreme extreme two extremes, I would say. Like some studies show there is no problem, and some studies show the real major problems. So there is no standardization. That is why I wrote here that there should be a standardization. It is a very novel science, so there are not much regulatory standards. Also, regulations all around the world. They're not very tough regulations. Uh, India is so abhi coming up with the regulatory model, and but all around the world, also US, Europe, the regulatory frameworks are not very, so to say, strict, or well defined, because it is it's a science which is just right now also emerging. So, you know, still a lot needs to be done to regulate the science. Then the question is, how do nanoparticles, behave in the natural environment? So conventional wisdom was that the carbon nanoparticles, they just stick to the soil, they don't penetrate the soil, and but it was found that carbon nanotubes, they do dissolve in river waters, buckyballs, they form toxic nanocrystals. So and they are poorly cleared by white blood cells in the lungs. So that is that can be very scary. And carbon nanotubes, they are known to cause short-term inflammations and lung fibrosis. Also, two carbon nanotube studies have shown lung fibrosis. So, this is this is not good news, right? Because ultimately human health is very important. And so we have to take all this hype with a pinch of salt. I mean, we should not be very scared, but the most important thing is there should be regulations, and we should use it judiciously, and it is very important to sensitize the general public about it. So these 4 points are very important. I'll again repeat this: dependable diagnostic tools, ye nahi that you are diagnose for detecting nanoparticles. In USA you are using some other diagnostic method, and in Europe you're using. And so these are so this dependable diagnostic tools, just as I was telling you about it, and then focused research to understand the distribution mechanisms, standardization of methods, and awareness. So these four are our mantras to make nanotechnology safe, right? And what are the possible solutions? These are the things that we have to follow, the points in the last slides that we have to follow to make it safe. But what can we do? What are the actions that we can take? First, one should must the governments must increase the budget for nano risk research related proposals. So that is very important. And then I would say mostly, I think in India also there was a nanotechnology initiative. In USA also there was a nanotechnology initiative. But how much of that was going to the projects that would assess the risks involved? Most of the projects are like development of novel nanomaterials, but very few projects actually go for the toxicology research. So increase the funding for that first. Second action that can be taken is strengthen regulatory standards. So this should be taken. I think it should not be like this, that in Europe there is some other standard, and in USA there is some other standard. There should be some uniform network. Then next is industry. Yes, this is very important. But this is like an optimist hoping for something, but it is very tough that this will happen. But the industry should voluntarily embrace strict standards. That will never happen, I know this, because it is the nature of commerce to maximize profit. And when you are maximizing profit, then regulations and all those things go out, fly out of the window. So that is a problem. But that should be done. I mean, how we can achieve that, that is to be thought. then all stakeholders should be consulted and informed of the probable risks. Maybe if we involve the industry and if we inform them about the risks, maybe then they can also embrace strict standards. So that ways. So keeping all this toxicity and all these things in mind, I would also like to share what we did at Miranda House. We wanted to sensitize our children also, and we did a project, a 1 year project, and like three departments: Department of Chemistry, Department of Zoology, and Department of Botany of Miranda House University of Delhi came together and selected three best students of the department, and like a 10 membered team of students was made, three teachers from each of the departments, and we like analyzed the toxicity of nanoparticles. So what was the exact I'm just sharing this with you because I want to tell you, I want to give you examples from my journey as a scientist, as a teacher, how I have tried to include nanotechnology in my teachings, in my pedagogy, and that I want to discuss with you three or four examples so that maybe that can be a takeaway from this talk. So what we did was we studied the effect of copper nanoparticles on the seedling growth of Vigna radiata. And this was Dr. Saloni Bahari from Department of Botany, myself from Department of Chemistry, and Dr. Kalavati Saini also from Department of Chemistry. I'm sorry, this was the first I have included in this, the first one that we did, and later on we collaborated with Department of Zoology for some similar project. I'm sorry. So in this nanoparticles we made, copper nanoparticles, chemistry people made, and the seedling growth and all this was studied by the botany. I mean, this was done by the botany people, but students were trained in all the things. So it was an interdisciplinary effort. So, we used a plant tissue culture. It is a method used to grow large number of cells, organs, and whole plant under aseptic environment, and it is based on the property of totiopotency. So that ways, I won't go into much detail because that does not concern you. I just want to give you an idea how you can actually do these things with your students. They get very excited, and I think sensitization must start for any topic. Sensitization must start with the younger generation, and students are the best for that. So you should involve them. So nanoparticles, we told them, that they have the ability to enter and transport within the cell, and they can alter the responses of the living organisms by virtue of their minute size. And literature survey, students did literature survey that was there such, effect, and it was there. So sorghum bicolor, this is a plant that we chose, and it is a feed grain for livestock and industrial applications like ethanol production and food for human consumption also. So versatile plant, it can tolerate drought, soil toxicities, a wide range of temperatures and high altitudes. So what was the methodology? This is a tissue culture ka methodology. So seeds were cultured, nanoparticles were incorporated into them into the seeds through sterilized millipore filtration system, and then they were inoculated, and then cultures were maintained. Then seeds were germinated, and we used SiO2 nanoparticles also, zinc oxide nanoparticles also, copper nanoparticles also. So we used quite a bit. So this was the incubation of cultures, and these are the seedlings. They were growing. I just wanted to I know this does not concern per se directly nanotechnology, but it is very important to understand how we can interact with the various departments, how we can bring about this change, because small changes matter. So easily I'm sharing this. So students with background from chemical sciences, plant sciences, life sciences, all of us helped them to understand this. They came together and worked synergistically in a highly congenial environment. And idea was to incorporate an innovative approach to nanotechnology teaching. So they were made to learn a range of skills and techniques. They have analyzed and synthesized the information gathered, and in this cooperative effort, they've themselves determined the direction in which the project would go. So it was also an exercise in confidence building and interaction with scientific community. So these are the byproducts, and we acted as advisor and facilitators rather than like teachers. We were just, they actually determined the direction in which the project would take. So I really found this very interesting. Next, what we did was, and I'll share with you all. This is very good. You can. This is a software, Ninithi software. This is a software that can be used to give students a brief idea about various kinds of nanomaterials and their electronic properties. So I'm pausing the share, and I'll start with this software. So I'll just share my screen. Kindly bear with me. I'm sharing my screen again. Just a second. Okay, there is no need for doing this. Just a second. So basically, you write on the Google Ninithi software, and this Nano Hub, I'll explain about this also in detail. So it will take you to the Ninithi software website. Also, you can also do this. You can go directly to the Ninithi website, Ninithi free download, and you can download it. You need a Java 16 environment for it to work. That also you will download in case your laptop or computer does not support it, and it is only a 25 MB file, so not very heavy also, right? So now I have already downloaded this and installed it on my laptop, so I'll go directly to that. So this is the Ninithi software. As you can see, it is a very simple software. It is an open source software. So all of you, like there is no need for any kind of paying money for the license and all. So first of all, if you want to, tell your students about it, then you must acquaint yourself with it अच्छे से. So for that, I'll advise you to go to help and practice all these. Introduction to Ninithi, just read about all this, not practice. So what is graphene? How do you draw graphene? And what are the electrical properties of graphene? Right? So you can see anti-bonding bands, bonding bands, you can see both bands. So all this, actually, I'm just giving you a sort of initiation. You will have to read about all these things. I don't expect me in this small module to explain about all these things. So carbon nanotubes, chirality of carbon nanotubes, how is it determined? Everything is given, and students can read about it, and then they can go to the uh, software thing. So I'll just give one example out of these. Say, let us make the nanotube, right? So nanotube, it has selected a carbon nanotube. Nanotubes, most of you must be knowing, can be single walled or can be multi walled. So we are talking about single walled. This is a multi walled carbon nanotube, right? So single walled, the chirality of nanotube is determined by two indices, M and N. So you can read about it, your students can read about it, and then they can decide what kind of chirality they want to give. So let us, for the purpose of this talk, let me take 5 and 5, okay, and let the length be 10. So it will make nanotube. So if you want to move it, you have to just use this right click and then drag it. And if you want to, rotate it, then you have to use the left click. So let me rotate it. This. So this is, by scrolling, you can actually reduce the zoom size. So this is the nanotube. So if you want to see the electrical properties of this E is written, this is for electrical properties. So it will give you the electrical properties. Let me see. Anti-bonding orbitals. And here you have all the, energy values also for the bonding and all. So tabular form may also you get it. So I mean, you'll have to explore it. It is very nice, and if you are making a project, you will really like it. So let us now do multi-wall carbon nanotube. Now in multi-wall carbon nanotubes, it is one single wall nanotube, then two, three, four, like this, right? So let us length, let press 9, yeah, 8. So 3, 3. So as you can see now, I've just added two single wall carbon nanotubes. So I like to show you. I hope you can see. Two nanotubes are. My mouse is actually not working very nicely, so that is why. I hope you just saw it. Two nanotubes, one in another. This is 3 3, and this chirality is 5 5. So sky is the limit. You can actually explore many things. Now let us make graphene. Graphene is a sheet which rolls to make nanotube. So graphene. So this is a sheet that if you roll it, you will make it will make a nanotube. So this is what I want you all to explore. This is very interesting for the students. And if you are saying explaining nanotechnology, it won't help. But if they do it themselves, then it will be very nice. Why I've chosen such a simple software? There are many softwares, open source softwares, but they involve programming, and the interface is not very easy. So this is something which is very, very simple, and that is why I think it is a very good starting point for the students. After that, you can sky is the limit. You can explore various resources and various open source softwares also. And if you have grant, you can explore uh, you know paid softwares also. And for example, I did my PhD in computational nanochemistry, and I did it with the help of Material Studio. So there are many paid softwares, but LAMPS is there, which is open source. So then you can explore it. But for the point of view of an undergraduate student, or maybe a postgraduate student also, this is very good to introduce pedagogically nanotechnology in the in the classroom. So you can design small exercises or small projects for them, because it does give you electrical properties also, so they can study that also. So it can be an initiation. I'm not saying that you will be able, or your students will be able to publish full-fledged research papers using this, but it is a good start. So a must explore, I would say. Next is, okay, I'll have to again stop share. So, my dear friends, this was about the Ninithi software. Do explore it. It is a wonderful tool. So, till now, I have explained to you about two things. The way we tried to introduce nanotechnology to our students. One was studying of nanotoxicity, and the other one was by computational chemistry. We designed various modules for them for using this software. And then the next is, you can also you can prepare nanoparticles in your class or in your lab also. So very simple ingredients are needed: silver nitrate and gold chloride. I think you can borrow that from the chemistry lab, though they're slightly expensive. So you'll just need a 100 ml conical flask, hot plate cum magnetic stirrer, which is available in the lab, and laser pointer. So what and then you can these kind of solutions, which are, you can see this color, this is changing. The color of the solution changes from almost colorless to purple to deep wine red in about 20 minutes after the addition of the sodium citrate. These are gold nanoparticles. The purple nanoparticles are larger than the red ones. So, gold chloride, and using the trisodium salt of citric acid, we have that was used as a reducing agent. If you want, I can give you this whole procedure. I have a write up on that, and you can use. I mean, you can get it on internet also, how to do it. So this is also one thing. And then why laser pointer? Because you can actually point your laser here, and it will show the Tyndall effect, because these are colloidal particles and nanoparticles will show Tyndall effect. So this is also one thing to introduce to your students, that gold is golden in color, but gold nanoparticles can have these colors. So three ideas I've given you, but all of you are teachers, and teachers are very creative, so you can also go about sharing, doing these things, and making creative exercises for the students, and maybe can share with us also. That will be really good. So another thing that is very beneficial for teachers, students alike, is this Nano Hub. Nanohub.org is a science and engineering gateway. It comprises of community contributed resources, and it is geared towards educational, professional networking, and interactive simulation tools for nanotechnology. So they have hosted this Ninithi software also on their website. So that I would want to explore with you all. Just a second. I hope you can see my screen. Nano Hub. Sorry, I typed Nana Hub. I'm so sorry. Nano Hub. So this is the site Nano Hub. So let us go to this website. So as you can see, we'll click on this website Nano Hub. Then there are various users. You can simulate. There are 5 apps and tools for manufacture and simulation. I'm pretty sure that you know the difference between modeling and simulation. Modeling is designing the, say, nanotube or a nanostructure or anything, a protein also, a ligand also. Simulation is their behavior in the real system then with time. So that is simulation. Then learn and teach. For teachers, it is a gold mine. There are various, there are like numerous. For teachers, it is a gold mine. I hope I was audible. So there are numerous, resources like materials, courses, lectures, PowerPoint presentations, all those things that help you to understand and to share your knowledge with your students. Then this is for the those people who can actually program and all. They can develop softwares, and you can share and publish on it also. Say you have devised a teaching material, or you, for example, I'm giving you this lecture, I can share it here also. So this is the thing, and right, let us explore. Okay, so animations. 3D wave functions. There are various animations. Okay, so I am downloading it. So it plays. So actually, this is related to nanotechnology. It will actually help you in. So it can help you in some other courses also. I mean, you all are from physics. That is why also I wanted to share with you all. Buckyball C60. I did tell you that Buckyball C60, Nobel Prize was shared by 3 scientists. So this is the simulation for Buckyball. So there are many things. Let me Now, for example, this is a presentation on general introduction to nanotechnology. Let us see this. So let us see this presentation. I mean, of course, the presentation is there to download and all, but you have to give due credit. And if it is explicitly mentioned on the presentation that it is a copyrighted material and you can't use it, you can just use it in your classroom, but not you cannot publish it, or you cannot use it commercially. So you have to follow that. I don't know if you can see this or not. Just a second.
Here is a computer. You see this almost every day and everywhere. It is a symbol of the modern technology that has driven the information age. You can do virtually anything
So
from
I don't know.
music,
Uh,
and even watching a movie.
an introduction about nanotechnology. A movie clip is running.
And what makes all of these miracles possible?
So because I've shared twice, so I hope that it is getting recorded. Otherwise, I'll share it as a separate file.
Motherboard has many computer chips attached to it. They are built based on semiconductor technology.
So that was a video clip about nanotechnology that I downloaded from this website, and I hope it was shown on your like it is recorded, but I am not too sure. But it was just a 90-second introduction. So there are there are various resources, so many resources that you can use, and let us explore some others also. So, presentation materials. I think this is online presentations, presentation materials, teaching materials. This is the most important for us teachers. So, for example, this is some course the person has shared it, Fundamentals of Nanoelectronics, lecture notes, fall 2009. So these are the lecture notes. You can download them, and you can use them. You can study them and then use them. A look into the nano world, an introduction to nanoscale science and engineering. So this is also a four-part lesson that has students explore the nanoscale. This lesson includes size and scale metric system, conversions, measurement, nanotechnology applications. So it gives you so many ideas, and this is as I had used that word, gold mine for teachers. If you want to explore it, you must. So that is that. So my dear friends, I think from the this is these three things. How do we design projects for students? The softwares that are specifically for the students and very easy for them to explore nanotechnology using those softwares and these nano hub resources. I'll urge you all to must include these in your teaching if you want, and otherwise also if you have a bent of mind that you want to do research in nanotechnology, then also it is a must to explore these resources. It will really help you, and I hope you've gained something from this lecture. And just a second, because it has been our it was my uh, effort. I wanted that I should include all those resources that are beneficial for teachers. So do let me know, if you have any questions, and you can, or if you have any suggestions also, because these things that I shared with you all, uh, like every teacher is different, and teachers are very creative. So if you have any suggestions, do let me know how we can include nanotechnology in the pedagogy, but like pedagogical structures. Please do let me know any suggestions, any questions, any modifications, because I may have missed something or misquoted something. I'm extremely sorry for that in case there has been any inadvertent error. And do let me know about the feedback of this presentation. You can mail me at smriti.sharma@mirandahouse.ac.in. I'll really appreciate the effort. So, finally, thank you so much. Small is beautiful, and let us explore it. Thank you so much.